What's going on, everybody? It's Dan here, back with another Moonshine talking. Hope everyone's having a good one. I'm doing all right. Can't really complain too much. It's been a pretty decent day, and I figured I was supposed to do a little interview tonight, and my buddy Kevin couldn't make it. He had some personal stuff come up, so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a review that I've put off probably longer than most people. If you're familiar with my channel, you're familiar with my musical taste. Probably surprised I didn't do this one right out of the jump. Uh, but I figured, much like a psychedelic ninja, I would wrap myself in day glow and hide behind a lava lamp, and you wouldn't know when I was going to pounce on you with this one. But I decided now's the time. I'm going to review the latest album from Pentagram, Lightning in a Bottle. This came out on the 31st of January on Heavy Psyche Sounds. Very killer doom stoner rock themed label. They're an Italian label. Got a lot of killer stuff on their site. They got a lot of stuff for Nebula, Bongzilla, Conan, Brant Bjork, Hippie Death Cult, one of my favorite bands, and yeah, just a ton of great stuff in that vein and in that style. So it's a very killer one, and they got a bunch of Pentagram stuff. They're reissuing and remastering some of their earlier releases. I picked up a couple of those recently, and yeah, it's good stuff, good label. And as far as this one goes, this is it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I don't have a copy of it yet. I still got to order it, but I've been listening to. They were, I was fortunate enough to hear them. They streamed it live the day it was released. Listened to it then. Didn't really get to sit down and really digest it, so I listened to it a couple more times, then listened to it a couple more times, then threw some headphones on, listened to it once more, started taking little notes here and there, and then finally I figured, you know what, I think I've marinated in this enough and familiarized myself enough with it. I can give my opinion on it. But as far as the background of this, this is their 10th studio album, their first one in almost 10 years, yeah, about 10 years. They put one out in 2015, Curious Volume. That was the last full length they did. Uh, Between there and this release, Bobby Liebling got himself into a little bit of legal trouble. He wound up in jail for a little bit. Not the greatest thing, but as anyone who's followed the career of Pentagram and Bobby Liebling in particular, he's a troubled lot, and he's got his demons. Definitely, he's got his issues with addiction, which in quite a few of the songs on the album, you hear lots of references to addiction and despair and stuff like that. All the typical things that you would come to appreciate or be familiar with if you're into doom metal and Pentagram in particular and Bobby Liebling specifically. Uh, I'm sure the big question is because he's 71 years old, is how do his vocals sound? How does his voice hold up? It's great. I mean, he sounds really good. It'd be interesting to see how they pull off the stuff live. I've, personally never seen Pentagram live, never had an opportunity to. Uh, I will say, the slightest bit of criticism that I do have, and it's not really a criticism, it's just being honest, just being real, is that there's a couple of times on a couple of songs, like there's a rough mix of the song Lady Heroin, and then it's also on Spread Your Wings, which is a really good song. It's probably the apex of showcasing Bobby Liebling's voice in its current form. But every once in a while, you can kind of tell. Like if you see interviews with him and you see videos and stuff like that, live footage and whatnot. He's either got dentures or he's got no teeth or he's got false. He's got something going on, and he's got that kind of like that. I call like he makes the old man mouth noises sometimes, and it's you can hear it a little bit, but it's not too predominant, but you do hear it a lot on the rough mix of Lady Heroin, which is a track you get on the deluxe edition of the album. But beyond that, I mean, his voice holds up at times. He's having fun with it, like you can hear on. on Lightning in a Bottle towards the end, he starts doing like the Ric Flair woos and stuff like that, and really starts getting into it, really starts feeling it. It's bluesy at times, it's got little, it's got the adequate amounts of despair at times when doing some of the slower tracks and some of the more doomier tracks. But yeah, he sounds great. As far as the band, he's got a whole new band with him. He recruited Tony Reed and Scooter Haslip from Mosh Generator. Tony Reed is guitar, Scooter Haslip is bass. Tony Reed is also the producer on the album, and they recruited Henry Vasquez to play drums. And next to Liebling, I'd say Henry Vasquez probably has the most doom cred, if you will, because he's been in St. Vitus. He's been in The Skull, which was Eric Wagner's band after he left Trouble. When Eric Wagner passed away, he moved on to do Legions of Doom, which they put a really good album out last year. That one has Carl Agel from COC, Scott Chandler from St. Vitus doing vocals on it, and then the rest of the members of The Skull. Uh, I wasn't even familiar with the band itself, but I heard a bunch, not a bunch, but a couple people talking about it, and I checked it out, and it sounded great. So that's definitely something it's going to be on my wish list in the future. But yeah, he surrounded himself with some killer players. They did a really good job on the album itself. As far as some of the standout tracks, I would say "Spread Your Wings" is a really good one. That's a phenomenal album. It actually, the first couple times I heard it, it was like the first half of it up until Thundercrest was kind of a little bit on the I wouldn't say disappointing, but it was a little bit underwhelming as far as some of the tracks on it. But then the more you hear it, it's one of those where like the first half of the album is more of like it's a grower, not a shower, as it were. And then you start listening to Dull to Pain, and I mean, Live Again's a great opener. It's got like nice chuggy riffs. You can hear lots of throughout this entire thing. Kind of go off the rails a little bit, but you hear lots of. I feel like they took a lot of inspiration from '90s era doom and even a little bit of grunge because on Lady Heroin you can hear little like clean guitar break that sounds very much like the Alice in Chains, a couple, some stuff off of the self-titled. You hear lots of stuff from like Plastic Greenhead, Trouble, Church Within, Obsessed, stuff like that's where I feel like, at least to me, in my ears, that's where I can hear where they maybe took a lot of inspiration from that era of those various bands. While at the same time, it's got that Pentagram identity. It's definitely it's their sound, it's their style, but it's got that feel to it, and the album and the band complement each other nicely. The sound and the style, yeah, it's good. I would say Thundercrest, like I said, that's a real hard rocking song. Lightning in a Bottle is the hard rockinest and probably the grooviest song on the album. It's like I said, Liebling, towards the tail end of it, he starts really, they go into like this really killer like rock riff, and he starts feeling it and really getting into it. So that's a fun one. That's a really cool one. Walk the Sociopath, that is probably the doomiest song on the album. Like the opening riff to it, it's like that like the alien character from Futurama with the gigantic head. As soon as you hear that riff, all you hear is and, but yeah, it's very cool. It even takes like a sludgy, drony kind of turn towards the tail end, and then goes back into the main riff. Very, very cool. Very good stuff. Um, in the Panic Rooms, very reminiscent of. That's probably the stuff where I heard the most like Trouble inspiration in the album. The Dull Pain, that's a good one. That's one of the singles that came out. Live Again was another single that came out, and Thundercrest. I'm sure a lot of people saw the video for that. But yeah, Thundercrest probably that had it had like whiffs and aromas of Zero the Hero, Sabbath, that born again era stuff, and just very, not, pun intended, but it's Thundercrest is a very thunderous, pounding song and very, very good track as far as stuff like that goes. Yes, Solve the Puzzle was decent. Spread Your Wings, that was one of the ones, like when I was talking about like the little minor like mouth noises that Liebling makes. It's they're there, but they're present, but they're not like overwhelming. But yeah, that's probably the best showcase of his vocal abilities, and it's strong. I mean, he holds it together. It's a very heavy rhythm throughout the entire song, and yeah, man, it's a great album. Tony Reed, he's got some ripping leads on this thing. I mean, he's tearing it up on some of the solos that he brings to this album. And Henry Vasquez and Scooter Haslip laying down the backbeat on all these songs is very good. Very, accentuates everything very nicely. I mean, it's a killer album. It's definitely one that I recommend. It's it's doomy at times. It's groovy at times. It's got a little bit of it's a little more spirited at times. I saw something where Bobby Liebling was talking about some of the influences that they brought into this album. He was talking about Captain Beyond and Sir Lord Baltimore and some stuff that is more stuff that he would be familiar with, stuff from like back in his day that was coming out. So there's lots of elements of proto doom in this. So if you're a fan of that sort of stuff, if you're a fan, like I said, of 90s era doom, like Trouble and Church Within Obsessed, things like that, even little hints and droplets of grunge, which is not surprising because Mosh Generator is not like they're not a straight up doom metal band. They're more like stoner rock, which stoner rock kind of like it can ride the fence at times depending on the band or the region where they're from. It can kind of ride the fence between grunge and doom and stuff like that. I've heard people talk about how Alice in Chains is like they're like almost like a doomish hard rock band that they're metal but they're not metal and but people like them, and I like Alice in Chains. I don't have a problem with Alice in Chains. That Facelift is killer, but that's neither here nor there. Um, but yeah, man, this is a good album. Oh, and as far as the bonus tracks, Start the End is a really good one. I can't think of what the one was, and then the rough edit of Lady Heroin. It's there. I mean, it's it's fine, I suppose. It's not awful. It's just again, it's a lot of like when you hear all the mouth noises and then it gets kind of distracting listening to it. So it's not my favorite thing on there, but it's fine. I mean, especially you get like a deluxe edition of the album, you get to hear some stuff that's not it's a little off the beaten path. It's fine, I suppose, but yeah, it's a good one. It's worth picking up. It's if you're a fan of Pentagram, this is definitely worth having. It's certainly get it for your collection. And it's a great album. It's definitely going to be up there so far. It's still early in the year, but as far as Doom stuff goes, this one's gonna rank up there pretty high, I think, for most of the year. It's a very, very solid release. They did a fantastic job. It'd be nice to see them tour it a little bit. I wonder how that would work out with Bobby's accelerated age. I don't know how spry he is at 71, but who knows? They might just do limited tour dates here and there. It might just be like East Coast and like Beltway stuff. I don't know, or maybe like traveling out to California or doing some festivals here and there. But yeah, if you get a chance to see them, go check them out. I mean, I can't imagine that they'll be around forever. I mean, none of us will, but there's probably going to be only so many more chances you get to see Pentagram. But yeah, so that's what I got for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Uh, as always, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Everybody have a good one. I will probably be doing potentially one more review this weekend, depending on if and when I get a copy of the album. I will probably be doing the new 16 album, another sludge doom band. They just put out a new album. It's coming out tomorrow, the 7th of February. So hopefully I'll get a chance to listen to that and then give you my thoughts on that. But yeah, other than that, that's what I got going on for the time being. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good one. Hope you enjoy the video. If you enjoy the video, go check out the back catalog. Please, if you don't mind, I'd certainly appreciate it. If you haven't checked anything out, if you see anything that interests you, then, feel free. It's there for you. If not, that's cool too. But yeah, everyone take it easy. I'll see you on the next one. Later.